I'm Collins and welcome to Purely Cars, and today we have something very special for you guys, and it is a Mercedes-Benz AMG GLE 43 Coupe. And if you're thinking that that's a very long name, yes, it's actually very long, and I'm sure that I mixed it up a little bit, but basically this is the Coupe version of the GLE SUV, and this is AMG's version of that specific car. So you have it in two trims. You have the 45 and you have the 63. The 43 is a V6 powered car and the 63 is a V8 powered car. And you know what, I think that this might just be the perfect one for most consumers. So let's talk about a few things that makes this car interesting, at least for me. So number one is design. Now this car does look very from the outside, but I don't think it's beautiful. I think it's a very weird shape. The front is very upright, and it stands very upright, and then the rear is truncated because of that coupe back. And when you add those things together, it looks more like a hatchback on steroids, and it looks like a Mercedes-Benz SUV. So in that respect, I don't find this car beautiful, but I think it's striking. So if you're the kind of person that needs your SUV to be very striking and aggressive, you want to get the coupe version of the GLE Coupe. So when it comes to that aggressive stance, it has it. But for beauty, I don't think it's a beautiful car. I think you want to go with the standard GLE if you need your SUVs beautiful. The next thing, which is another negative for me, is the visibility out of this car. Because of the extreme angle of the front windshield and the extreme angle of the back glass, it is almost impossible, or it's difficult to look out when you're driving. In fact, I think that if a Camry is parked at the back of this car, because of how high or how low the visibility is, I think it will be very difficult to actually see the car, because it's a high car and the glass is too extreme. Now looking out of the front windshield, you would have to take the seat as high as possible, and you have to be literally looking, because the front windshield is also at an extreme angle. So those are negatives for me when it comes to visibility. Let's get to the good stuff. So the third thing I find interesting about this car is the internal ergonomics. Now it's a Mercedes-Benz. Every single thing is right to hand. The screen is just at a very comfortable angle. The controls for the air conditioning and other functions are right to hand. In fact, you control this car with your touch inputs right near your handlebars, so you just touch it like a mouse and then you can control the function, and it's beautifully fluid and precise. I mean, it's a Mercedes-Benz. The controls for the seats are at just on the doors, so your hands reach out to them, and then controlling your seat is so beautiful and simple. So when it comes to ergonomics, I love how Mercedes-Benz designed it. Now it's not perfect, because in some places you have plastic, so it's not a perfect design, but compared to other cars on the market, it's actually quite luxurious and it's very simple to navigate, and I think that's the word. So I love that aspect about how simple it is to reach out to functions and how simple it is to execute demands. And then of course you have voice control, so once you activate it from the steering wheel, you can actually give commands to the system. Say you turn on your music or cruise control or stuff like that. So for ergonomics, it's a 4 for me. Right, so Oga Femi is handling the steering wheel. Now we talk about number 4 thing I like about this car, and that is the driving dynamics. So first of all, you're sitting very high up in this car. That SUV stance, and I love SUVs, I love big cars, because you're sitting in a very majestic position. It's not like you're sitting on the floor, so you are in control. And I love how it's very tight. It's not a very big car, so it's actually a very tight little car. Very cool. And as I said before, that bitable V6, you might be thinking that it's a V6 and it's not powerful. Well, you would actually be wrong, because this car actually has enough power, more than enough power. And I thank God that this guy is not pressing it too much. So today he's very careful and he's being very judicial with the pedals. But 367 horsepower is more than enough to get you into trouble while driving this car, if you're not careful.
That's if you're not a good driver.
If you're not a good driver and if you're not careful. So the fifth thing about this car that is actually quite cool is the practicality. So while this car has sort of like sports car performance, it still has good space for people. You have space enough for 5 people, and you have a very big,
crazy interesting.
you have a very big boot out back. So you have 0 to 65 5.5 seconds, top speed 140 miles an hour. You have a car that has a lot of ground clearance, so that if you're driving in bad roads, you know, you are off the ground. So you have all these things, and when you bring them together, it's sort of like the perfect performance car. And yes, we are still thanking God that this guy is not going fast today. So yeah, that's been it. Thank you. So these are the few things that we find interesting about this particular car, the Mercedes-Benz AMG GLE 43 Coupe. Very, very stupendously long name. But yeah, I'm Collins, and see you on the next one.